Welcome to The Middle Ground, a new Brussels talk show about finding balance between a career and a fulfilling personal life. My name is Valeriya, and I'm your today's host. Our today's guest is Francesco Cappelletti, a teacher at the Free University of Brussels, who is also advising a member of the European Parliament. Francesco was born and raised at a farm of Tuscany in Italy, but found his second home in Brussels. Francesco almost won at the European elections, and it's not even the most interesting part about his story. Welcome, Francesco.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
You were raised at a farm in Tuscany.
Correct.
How does this close to the nature childhood make you feel in a jungle like Brussels?
Well, from the barn to Brussels, just bigger stables. No, jokes aside, it is something that clearly has shaped my childhood, and I'm very grateful for everything I learned actually in this environment. That surprisingly, maybe for you and for many that are listening, I can apply in everyday life of in our everyday life and job in Brussels. And especially one thing that I bring with myself, I remember my grandparents, that were always busy, because in the farm you are always to be busy with something. Can be animals, can be the vegetables that are growing, can be some emergencies, and this sense of speed, I like to think that it's useful in our day life, because it makes you prioritize better among, as you said yourself, the jungle we live in, Brussels.
Brussels is teeming with EU professionals who are passing CAST and EPSO all the time, and LinkedIn is the evidence of it and the popularity of this social media in Brussels. When you feel like you're fed up with EU bubble, what is your Brussels safe haven?
Well, first of all, I think that there's a serious moment. I think that Brussels is a place of very high level people. I mean, professionals, young, less young, come here, and I mean, the job market is very dynamic. So you have to be not only good at your job, but you have to be creative to some extent. You have to be aware of the many differences that you're going to encounter in your daily work life. Um, but if you ask me about a safe spot, surely it's not LinkedIn or any social media that I would rename it Bragdin, because whenever you open it, you feel like you didn't do much in your life. Like you feel bad. Sometimes it's like an endless scroll of people with doing achievements, and the most simple story, like concluding a job or finishing an internship or starting a new position, becomes like a 500 word thank letter to everyone, which I think it's part of the game. Let's say it's not something I would cancel, but yeah, surely it's not a safe spot in this sense.
So, where do you escape this LinkedIn/EU bubble buzz?
Well, I think that on the other hand, Brussels has a lot of pubs, a lot of different beers, has a lot of attractions in terms of concerts, in terms of cultures, in terms of art. So there is this duality of living in this city. I think that on the one hand, you are in this bubble, and if you are inside the bubble, in the inner circle, but even the outer circle of the professionals working around institutions, or the outer circle of the foundations, the NGOs that are still depending to some extent from the institutions, you are very much connected to the so-called Brussels bubble. But I mean, then it's up to you what you want to do. If you want to bring your job at home, or if you want to just go out for listening to beautiful symphony in Beaux-Arts, if you want to go to the opera theater, if you want just to go out with some friends that maybe you met again from the university time here in Brussels, and you go for a fresh beer, that's up to you. And I think it's not always healthy to keeping together these two dimensions.
I've heard from our previous conversations that something that keeps you sane in this never-ending race for the priority message in Brussels is your dog Dante. Can you tell us a little bit more about him? And do you find Brussels generally as a pet-friendly city? How does it work in the European Parliament and other offices where you used to work before?
Yeah, so to come up to the first questions, from pigs and cows to dogs, like it looks like a bit of a downgrade to some extent. Yeah, I got Dante in a very particular moment of my life. I underwent a severe surgery here in Belgium, and then when I was feeling better, there was something I wanted to do since a while, because I was far from home. I'm not necessarily connected to this story of the farm, but I really wanted to have a little dog, and so it came up through friends, and I couldn't think of another name, being from Tuscany than Dante. Um, and when it comes to Brussels, it's quite pet friendly. There are very few places that I think I couldn't enter with him. And unfortunately, when it comes to the European Parliament, at the moment there is not a pet-friendly policy. So there is no way to introduce animals. But on the other hand, being there, I think 3,000 people more or less. I don't know numbers working. Imagine if you bring like 1,000 dogs, and it becomes like a real a stable itself.
We were discussing this quite often with Victoria, because Victoria wants a cat, and I'm still not sure how we're gonna proceed with that.
So you're
Um,
using this podcast to convince her. So when it's on when it's online, she'll have just to agree, because comments. Please, guys, comment. Yes, should they take a cat or not? Would you like to see a beautiful cat here on our middle ground sofa?
But you mentioned the serious health condition that you had to face here in Brussels. Many expats are worried about how the health system of Brussels, or Belgium in general, going to receive them, especially considering the language barrier. How was it for you? And what would be your recommendation to those Brussels expats who will face sooner or later the health system of this country?
Yeah. So it's very particular, the healthcare system of Belgium. You are entitled to buying an insurance, and your, of course, employer also has the work insurance, and with this you can access every kind of services. And all in all, they are quite cheap compared to other places in the world you can think of. Uh, when it comes to my specific situation, since it was a brain surgery, I had the possibility to get in touch through some Italian friends. We are a bit everywhere, with an hospital, and I found my way in a place when, at the end, no one was speaking my language, but everyone would understand Italian, because it was full of Italians. I would recommend, of course, this is personal, but to listen to different opinions when it comes to your health. But I think that people shouldn't be afraid of having any health issues, if any, and maybe hopefully not in this country.
You talk a lot to politicians in your everyday professional life, and I assume that sometimes it might be very refreshing to talk to somebody who doesn't know the difference between the Council of the European Union and the European Council, but also to simply young people. And as somebody who's teaching at the Free University of Brussels, you have access to those young people. Tell me, what's your take on the young blood of Brussels?
So yeah, absolutely, it is the best part of my professional life. I love teaching to young people, and the fact that they are younger means that they are like sponges, that they can absorb every information. So it's also a job of a lot of responsibility. When I enter in usually the first lecture at the university, alone or with some colleagues, and because we are going to touch upon very important topics such as disinformation, cybersecurity, and international relations, I'm trying to communicate to them that the main scope of a course, it's not to change their life in terms of content, in terms of absolute knowledge. Because if you're interested on something, you can always read a book, and always there is always time to study. What we're trying to do, what I'm trying to do personally, is to try to instill in them curiosity, because this is something that I'm afraid in our society we're a bit losing. There is a bit of disconnect when it comes to the classic way of absorbing information and what you are exposed to in everyday life. So I try to translate this now looks like a big responsibility, but in what I do at the university, which makes it, of course, super entertaining from my side as well.
It's very interesting what you said about curiosity, because back in the days when you were a student and you played the violin in the music conservatory, that's exactly while doing and pursuing this career that you got interested in international politics and diplomacy. So now looking back, would you say that your musical career made you a better player or a listener in your EU bubble job?
Well, I think you have to be both a good player because you have to survive. You got to survive this place here, and at the same time, you have to be able to listen. This is one of the most important qualities that I have learned during my career, let's say, as an artist. As you correctly pointed out, I have a violin diploma. Back when I was in Italy, in Tuscany, and the Conservatory of Florence, and it was an amazing period of my life. Uh, if I were to tell you exactly when, how, why the transition happened, I would be in trouble. Except I don't know how to answer this honestly. I think what is most important is to try to replicate the love for art in what I'm doing now, right? The love for art means also trying to be always creative, trying to make something uh, somehow appealing for the listeners, right? In this case. And when it comes to being a player, there is a lot I have to learn. Studying music is tough. You can study up to 18 hours per day, and there will be some little kid that is more advanced than you at every time, at every point of your career. But at the same time, uh, it gives you some kind of structure. So there is this sense of always trying to get better, to be something better. And if I will be able at some point of my life to try to replicate this into the, let's say, profession I'm doing at the moment, it will be a win-win situation. I'll be very happy.
If one looks into your education trajectory, one particular university stands out, and I can't avoid asking about it. In 2017, you went to Moscow to study at MGIMO. So, for those who don't know, it's the International Relations University in Moscow. And it happened after 2014 when Russian Federation illegally annexed Crimea. With all this context, I'm wondering what made you decide in favor of the master's program in world politics in the country, which actually broke the international order.
So I'll divide my answers into part. The first one is a bit half a joke because I applied to different universities for master's degree, like everyone does. I mean, I'm sure you did, and everyone else that is watching. And I would have been more than happy to go to Oxford or Harvard, but the first to to give me a positive answer was this program from the Ministry of Education, Italy, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, sorry, of Russia, as you correctly pointed out. I think, and that's the second part of the answer. Looking back at that time, I am positive about this experience because, as the says go, you know, and if you think about Sun Tzu, you know to know your enemy, and having a perspective from within is was very enriching in this sense. Despite, as you clearly pointed out, the fact that we are talking about what's at stake, it's international order, it's international law. If you want to expand a little bit the question beyond Russian Federation per se, I think it's always important. I'm a bit a libertarian on this. It's always important to understand the other side. You always have. I mean, I would die for the other to be able to express their thoughts. Clearly, when it comes to weaponization of thoughts, weaponization of information, or war actions, that there has to be international order and international law to step in first. But at the same time, I think that what we're gonna witness in the years to come, of course, with the hopefully soon settlement between Russian Federation after the invasion and Ukraine, will have to be found grounded into important points. So, on the one hand, no clear. Sorry, on the one hand, clear red lines that Russia Federation, whoever will be on top of it, will be chairing the throne of the Kremlin, will not be able to pass anymore. Uh, and on the second point, I would add that no grade zones will have to be left. Let's be realistic for how much we can discuss. I don't see Russia disappearing. It didn't disappear in 70 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union. It will not this time. So we'll have, in a very, very basic way speaking, we'll have to deal with it. And it will be very important the way we will write those details, not only on paper, but also on alliances, on what is geopolitics in the end, and international relations. I think this will be uh, a very important moment that will define the future of Europe, the future of Russia, the future of all the big continent together.
Yeah, we all want to contribute to the future of Europe, and you already tried to do that by running at the last European elections
Correct.
in Tuscany in Italy, and you almost made it.
I mean, the best I could make with a budget of 1,000 euro, more or less. So
But tell me, how did it happen, and what were your messages, and if you're going to run again?
yeah, it happened quite by chance. There was the need of refreshing a bit the so-called old politics in a way. I am not hiding. I'm moderate. I'm a liberal, and there was this new list of different parties with different histories that decided to join together in a list called United States of Europe. So yes, exactly as well, I was talking before about the future of international relations, to think a bit more regional, the future of the EU. And I think it was a very enriching experience, on the one hand, being in contact with people, understanding the needs. And I hope that politics will change in the years to come, that it will be something closer to people. I'm not saying something trivial here. I'm just trying to communicate, like at least when I was trying to communicate to people, that there is a need to reconnect together what is the decision making, especially here, the bubble, and what are the needs at the local level. The main topics, funnily enough, were about competitiveness, so industry, at the same time security, and sustainability. And funnily enough, I'm saying, because a few months after my campaign that clearly failed, in the preamble of the well-known Draghi report, there is this triad in the first page. So I think that's the. It doesn't mean that I am a genius. It just means that that's the right direction what we have to focus on.
Now I want to go to talking about life in Brussels. And we introduced already a small tradition in our show. We ask every guest to bring something they can't live without in Brussels. What did you bring, Francesco?
Not gonna hide. I was to bring my violin, but it wouldn't fit my backpack today, and I was already out all day. So I brought the chin rest. This is a piece of wooden metal, for those that don't know. It goes under your chin, actually, yeah, as the name says, and with whom you can hold your violin while playing. So when you have here, imagine me playing a violin like this. Okay, so that's what I brought. I would have brought my violin. I think it's important. By the way, I'm a bit sick about it. I have a bit of a fetish about violins. Whenever I go to a flea market, and there are many in Brussels and in the other cities, I always look for old violins to repair, because I did my self study on how to revarnish them, repair some cracks. So whenever there is a flea market, I have to be kept away, because otherwise I will buy whatever looks like a full-size violin and try to fix it and play it.
I think you will find a lot to discuss with Victoria, because she also has a fetish going to a flea market and buying some ceramics that we then don't use, and then they just piling up in our kitchen.
Perfect excuse for you to hide them when you will have a cat in this house.
And now we came to the most interesting part of this discussion, asking our guest what's their middle ground. What is this sweet spot between pursuing your career in Brussels and staying sane and keeping your friends, keeping your loved ones, your dog, and everything you love with you, and just living your best life?
Yeah, I'm not the right person to answer to this question, because I understand what you mean exactly. You have a career and a professional path, and then you try to be normal, a person, no, a human. I don't think that the things have to be completely disconnected. I said something different at the beginning of our interview when we were speaking about the career and development. But so if you bring home the problems, then it's shit. But if you let things influence each other in a healthy way, I think you can create a relationship that fulfills you. You asked me about art, about players, or being listeners. The two things have to be going together. If you are a good listener, then you will be a good player. If you do well at your job, it's because you're happy in your life. So I don't think that this middle ground has to be something or some specific place. The middle ground is yourself. The middle ground, it's your person. It's all the things you do, all the things you put together every day. And when you find yourself sitting in a sofa like this with good friends like you discussing, that's part of the middle ground. It's not one single spot, in my opinion.
Our first guest, Julius Winterman, asked you a question that you have to answer. And the question was how to make the European Union better, how to make it represent citizens in a more democratic way.
Thank you for the question, Julius. Do we have 2 hours now to answer to this very complicated question? No, jokes aside, I think uh, there's not much to change. People want to come and change Europe, right? You know, it's exactly what I said before. United in diversity. So it is not our DNA to be different, to be diverse. You can tweak and twist some little and pulling some little wires, and things will be immediately better. I mean, this is of course the force of free market. I'm talking as a liberal here, but we have to be very careful on how much we want to reformulate, how much we want to rewrite, how much we want to redefine. Uh, I think that in this city, I mean, directives and ideas for directives are faster than the lightning that's happening now because it started raining. If you didn't notice, so we have to be careful and we have to believe in one important thing, that citizens are not stupid. Citizens are never stupid. So, oh my God, everyone is voting X, Y, and they're stupid. It's fucked up because they became, I don't know, extremists. No, they are discontent. So you have to be able to listen first, being a good listener, in order to be a good player. And if you play in politics, being a good player, in my humble opinion, means that you know how to translate their needs into, well, in this case, laws or papers or representative dynamics inside this very complicated bubble and more complicated European Union.
It's very interesting that you emphasized that it's not that easy. If the citizens are discontent, there are reasons for that. We also constantly hear and see this in the comments, also in the comments under our videos, that there are things that people are unhappy about Brussels, but there are good things that can be just reinforced. We can make them better, and that's what we will try to do also through our show.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, in all honesty, people will be never completely happy, but that's also because there will always be politics at the same time. And so the scope of this place, of your show, is not to make people happy. We'll make them smile as much as we can, but I think it's to be able, and I'm biased here because now I want to speak again about what I'm teaching about, disinformation and information manipulation. People to be able to have a personal relationship between them and, in this case, you or us speaking or the politicians. This is something that it's innate inside us, and this is the only thing I'm really worried about. I know that you're very much worried about international order, which is worrisome. I agree. But this is from within, like eroding democracy from within, in a sense, because if you don't have the interaction between people, that is the most innate and natural thing that defines us as social animals. Someone way more clever than me said this before. Then all the rest will be just crumbles on a table instead of being a beautiful, Italian dinner ready to eat. And I think this is something to take care of.
That's why we're going to listen and we're going to play and we're going to do this smart, both in our show, and I hope that through the people like you in the European Union. But what would be your question to our next guest?
I would ask the next speaker, what is the thing that scares you the most about Brussels life, about being here? You can answer whatever, but you cannot say the bus to Charleroi South Airport, because this is for sure like a common denominator for everyone living here.
We're looking forward to hear the answer of our next guest to this one. So the favorite part of this show for Vika and me is the rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Why? Because you don't have time to think how to respond.
Okay.
And we can see who our guests are when they are not prepared.
I was a bit scared indeed, because you made me move from this very comfortable sofa here on the corner. And it's so comfortable that I invite everyone to come and have a chat with these wonderful ladies here. So I hope that you will have many other speakers.
So now be prepared.
Okay.
How do you explain your job to your grandparents?
I lie. It's easier.
What's the most overused Brussels buzzword?
I might be outdated by the time the video goes on, but at the moment is competitiveness. They follow everything like a dog finds truffles. So what sounds fancy, they use it. Competitiveness.
Policy area that is way sexier than people actually think.
Budget.
If Brussels was an animal, what would it be?
Brussels was an animal, it would definitely be the one half duck, half rat. It was ornithorync. Yeah, you have the Brussels bubble, and the rest.
Who is your favorite composer?
This is a difficult question. Many composers. Probably for a particular reason, Tchaikovsky. But Verdi, Puccini, Rossini, anyone that you can name off.
And if you met Ursula von der Leyen in the elevator, what would you ask her?
I would ask if she ever thought of going in early retirement and let step in our beloved Mario Draghi. But that's only hypothetical, right? So it will never happen.
It's a very Italian answer to this question, but you did good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And Francesco, I'm very grateful for your time, and thank you for being with us and spending time with our listeners and viewers. And I hope we'll see you running in the next European elections.
I hope to see you before. And I would like to take this 1 second, and people will already have stopped the video because they don't care about thanks. But I really would like to thank you, not only as friends, but also wishing you best of success, because it's well deserved. And I think there are a lot of way more interesting people to listen from that will be very happy to come here, or not after.
We're done. And this one is for you.